This
Okay,
conference
ma'am.
will now be
Now go ahead,
recorded.
ma'am.
Okay, already we discussed about the different types of antigen antibody reactions in the last class. And in that, many types of reactions are present. In that, precipitation reactions, agglutination reaction, and complement fixation reaction, and neutralization reaction. And coming to the precipitation reactions, different tests are present in the precipitation reaction and different mechanisms are present in precipitation reaction, and that we are discussing today. Precipitation reaction means when a soluble antigen combines with its antibody in presence of electrolyte at suitable temperature and pH. The antigen antibody complex that forms a insoluble precipitate, that is called as the precipitation reaction. Here, antigen combines with the antibody, but the antigen is in the form of soluble portion, and when it combines with the antibody, and that forms the insoluble precipitate, and that reaction is called as the precipitation reaction. And this precipitation reaction can be takes place in liquid medium or in gel, takes place in media or in gel. Here, instead of sedimenting, here different processes are there: precipitation, agglutination, flocculation. These are the different processes when the antigen and antibody is combined. Here, if the precipitation means that is insoluble precipitation, that is called as precipitation. Sometimes, instead of this precipitation, the particles are in the form of floccules, and that reaction is called as flocculation. Instead of sedimenting the precipitate, it remains as floccules, and that reaction is called as flocculation. As normally, what is flocculation? It refers to a process by which fine particulates they clump to each other, and that forms in the form of flocks. They float at the top or at the sediment at the bottom also. That means they can be formed in the form of flocks, and that process is called as flocculation. And these can be readily filtered. The floccules can be readily filtered. Here, a precipitation sometimes the precipitate remains suspended as floccules, and that reaction is called as flocculation process. Okay, and next, the precipitate here it is influenced by the proportion of different antigens and antibody. It means it depends on the quantity of antigens and antibodies. If increasing quantities of antigens are added to the same amount of antibody, and the precipitation that occurring in the tubes that differs. That means, for example, in the first tube, if we take the three tubes, and in the first tube, in all the three tubes, anti-serum or antibody is added. Antibody is added in the same quantity, and then we are adding the antigen in increasing quantities. Then what happens? In the first tube, anti-serum or antibody concentration is more, whereas the antigen concentration is less. Whereas in the second tube, both the concentration are similar. Both the quantities are similar. So not concentration, both the quantities are similar. And in the third tube, increasing quantities of antigens we are adding. That means in the third tube, what happens? The quantity of antigen is more than the antibody. That is the difference observing in 3 tube. Here also, if increasing quantities of antigens are added to the same amount of antibody in different tubes, then the precipitation occurs in one of the tubes. That is in the middle tube, only the precipitation occurs. And that is called as the precipitation reaction. Here in this, we are taking the three test tubes. That means here in the first tube we observe the antibody excess, and in the second tube we observe the equivalence zone. That means equal quantities of antigen and antibody are present, and that forms the equivalence zone. Okay, and next in the third tube, the concept the quantity of antigen is more. That is the antigen excess is present. That is called as the Joule phenomena in precipitation reaction. It is called as the Joule phenomena in precipitation. We observe three types of Joules: pro-Joule, peak Joule, and post-Joule. Pro-Joule means that contains the antibody excess quantity, whereas in peak Joule, the the quantities of antibody and antigen are similar. That forms the PTT, precipitation. Whereas in post-Joule, antigen is in excess quantity. That is called as the Joule phenomena. Okay. Next, coming to the mechanism of precipitation reaction. And this precipitation reaction, it is explained with the help of lattice hypothesis. Lattice hypothesis. Already you know about what is lattice in chemistry. Okay. Here, what is the valency of antigens? Antigens are multivalent in nature, whereas the valency of antibody is bivalent. Here, the multivalent antigens combines with the bivalent antibodies in varying proportions, and depending upon that, the antigen antibody ratio varies in reacting mixture. Okay, here the multivalent antigens combines with the bivalent antibody in different proportions, and that results in the precipitation, and that in the formation of lattice formation, in the form of lattice formation, and that consisting of antigens and antibody molecules. Okay, and it is only possible in the peak zone. That is, the peak zone means that containing the similar quantity of antibody and antigen. That is called as the lattice hypothesis. And this lattice hypothesis was explained by the scientist Mancini, Mancini. Mancini. Here, the precipitation results in the formation of lattice when in the peak zone only. That is the lattice hypothesis. Okay, here the lattice formation occurs in the first zone. What happens? Antibody is excess. That is the antibody excess zone. Whereas in equivalence zone, that is the peak in the form of peak. In the graph we observe in the form of peak, and hence it is called as the peak zone. Here the quantities of antibody and antigen are similar. That results in the formation of precipitate, which is in the form of lattice formation. And next, coming to the third zone, that is the antigen excess zone. Antigen excess. Here the concentration, so the quantity of antigen is more than the quantity of antibody. Okay, this is the lattice formation. It explains the precipitation reaction. Next, what are the types of precipitation reaction? And these precipitation reactions, these are mainly useful for the detection of different antibodies that are raised against the different diseases. Okay, and these are performed in different types of reactions, and that or based on that, these types of reactions are present. And the types of precipitation reactions are mainly ring test, slide test, tube test, immunodiffusion, and immunoelectrophoresis. These are the main types of precipitation reactions which are useful for the detection of antibodies that are raised against the different infectious agent or different foreign antigen. That are the types of precipitation reaction. And coming to the first one, ring test. What is ring test? It is the simplest form of precipitation reaction. Simplest form of precipitation reaction. It consists of layering the antigen solution over a column of antibody in a test tube. That means first we take the antibody in a test tube, then we add the antigen on the antibody, and that forms a precipitate at the junction of two liquids. At the junction of two liquids. That is called as ring test. It forms at the junction of two liquid, means here at the junction of antigen and antibody, the precipitate is formed, and that is called as the ring test. Here in chemistry normal wise, here when ferrous sulfate is taken in one test tube, to this sulfuric acid and nitric acid are added, then brown ring is observed. This is the normal. Here like that the antigen and antibody, when these are added, that forms the precipitate at the junction of these two, and that is called as the ring test. Ring test. Okay. And what are the applications of this ring test? This ring test is mainly useful for the grouping of streptococci. Grouping of streptococci and Ascoli's thermoprecipitating test for the diagnosis of anthrax. For the diagnosis of anthrax, and also for the detection of adulteration of foodstuffs. Here, in grouping of streptococci means normally streptococcal infections are present in respiratory diseases. Okay, for the detection of antibodies that are raised against these streptococcal pneumonia, against the streptococcal pneumonia, we use this ring test. That is for the detection of grouping of streptococci, we use the ring test. Next, in Ascoli's thermoprecipitating test for the diagnosis of anthrax. It is mainly used for the detection of anthrax. And here, the antibodies that are raised against the anthrax are detected by using this test, by Ascoli's thermoprecipitating test. Okay. And next, for the detection of adulteration of foodstuffs. Adulteration of foodstuffs. That means some compounds are present that cause the food poisoning, and that chemicals are detected by using the detection of adulteration of foodstuffs, by using the ring test, by using the precipitation test. And these are the main applications of ring test. Actually, in Ascoli's thermoprecipitating test, the most stable antibodies of anthrax are detected. Hence, it is called as thermoprecipitating test. Ascoli's thermoprecipitating test for the diagnosis of anthrax. And here mainly thermostable antibodies of anthrax are detected. How these are detected means the antibody produced by an animal in reactions to the anthrax antigens are detected, and that is the Ascoli's thermoprecipitating test. Okay, these are the main applications of ring test. And next, coming to the slide test. What is slide? That means here we are observing the test in the slide, on the slide. That means when a drop of antigen and antibody are placed on the slide and these are mixed, that forms the floccule or PPT, and that will appear in between antigen and antibody, and that is the slide test. When a drop of antigen and antibody are placed on the slide and that is mixed, that forms the PPT of floccules, and that forms in between the antigen and antibody. That is the slide test. And main application of slide test is the VDRL test. VDRL test for syphilis. Syphilis, it is a sexually transmitted disease that is infected by a bacterial species. And what is VDRL? VDRL means Venereal Disease Research Laboratory Test. Venereal Disease Research Laboratory Test for syphilis. Okay, that is the for the detection of antibodies that are raised against that bacteria. Here only after the attack of and this bacteria, the antibodies are produced in the body against that particular antigen, and that antibodies are detected by using the VDRL test for CPD. That is the slide test. Okay, and next one is the tube test. And what is the tube test? Here, mainly serial dilutions of antigens are made in the test tube, to which fixed amounts of serum are added. That means first we are taking the antibody in equal quantity in all test tubes. Then what we are adding in the serial dilutions of antigen are added. That means dilutions of antigen. That means the quantity, the concentration of antigen is decreasing in serial manner. And that is the serial dilutions of antigen that are made in the test tube. And these are added to the fixed amount of antibody. That is the tube test. And it is mainly used for the standardization of toxins or toxoids. Toxins and toxoids. This test is mainly used for standardization of toxins and toxoids, and that is called as the tube test. Only serial dilutions of antigens are used in this. And next, immunodiffusion method. Immunodiffusion, that means immuno means antigen, antibody, and that are the immune system containing components. And here in this method, the specific antigens and antibodies are allowed to combine in a gel or in media, semi-solid or gel media, and that is the immunodiffusion. Diffusion, that means movement. Here the movement is observed where in solid, semi-solid or gel media, the specific antigens and antibodies are allowed to combine in a semi-solid or gel media. Normally, the gel agar or agarose gel are used. Agar or agarose gel are used for this purpose, immunodiffusion purpose. And what is the advantage of this method? Here, the reaction here that formed between the antigen and antibody is stable, and it can be preserved for staining purpose. That means we can observe the antigen antibody complexes by staining processes, and that is the main advantage by using the immunodiffusion method. Okay, and this immunodiffusion, just a minute. This immunodiffusion is again of different types. Immunodiffusion is again of different types, and different tests for immunodiffusion reactions are present, and that are of single diffusion in one dimension, double diffusion in one dimension, single diffusion in two dimensions, and double diffusion in two dimensions. That means single diffusion means here we are using antigens and antibody. That means if only one component is diffusing in the agar gel, that means that is called as single diffusion. Whereas in double diffusion means if both antigens and antibodies are moving in the gel, that is the double diffusion. Whereas in dimensions, that means one dimension, two dimensions, that means the movement, the direction which these are moving, that is the dimensions. And that based on this, these are four types of diffusion reactions are present: single diffusion, double diffusion, and that are in one dimension and or in two dimensions. And these are the different tests. Okay. And next, first coming to the single diffusion in one dimension. Here in single diffusion in one dimension, first the antibody is incorporated in the gel, in a test tube or in a that means in a gel preparation containing chambers. Okay, the antibody is incorporated in agar gel, and in this, antigen is layered over on the surface of antibody containing gel. It means first we are preparing the agar gel that containing the antibody. Then antigen is layered over it. Then what happens? The antigen diffuses towards through the gel, and that forms the line of precipitation. And here, when precipitate is dissolved at that point, that indicates the concentration of antigen. And precipitate dissolves means at that point the concentration of antigen increases. And the number of bands indicates the number of different antigens present in that sample. Okay, first in agar gel, by taking the agar gel that containing the antibody, on this antigen is layering over the surface of antibody containing gel. Then what happens? The antigen diffuses towards through the gel, and that forms the precipitation. And that precipitate, when it is dissolved, means its concentration, the antigen concentration is increases. And the number of bands indicates the number of different antigens. Here, single diffusion occurs in only one dimension. Single diffusion means here only antigen is diffusing towards the antibody, and only in one direction. And that is called as the single diffusion in one dimension. Okay. And next, this is the single radial immune diffusion. Radial means in one direction here. Here in this, what is the procedure involved in this single radial immunodiffusion means, here first the agar gel, it is impregnated with the antiglobulins. And what are antiglobulins? Antiglobulins means these are raised against the antibodies raised against the globulins. The antibodies raised against the globulins that are called as antiglobulins. Here first the agar gel that is impregnated with the antiglobulins that is taken, and to this serum sample and immunoglobulins are added to the wells. That means here the gel contains the anti-IgG, and to this we are adding the serum sample that containing the antibody. And what happens? It allowed for diffusion of immunoglobulins into the gels, and that forms the precipitation. Here the precipitin rings are formed at the site of optimal concentration of anti-Ig and IgG. Okay, and here when we measure the ring diameters, and that indicates the IgG concentration, that indicates the antibody concentration. That means the diameter of precipitin ring, and at that indicates the immunoglobulin concentration or antibody concentration. And here only in single radial immunodiffusion means only here what are moving, here antibodies are moving. Here we are adding the immunoglobulins into gel. Here antibodies are moving. In the last slide we show that antigens are moving. Here immunoglobulins, that are the antibodies, are moving. That means only one of the immune complex containing components are moving in one direction, and that is called as the single radial immunodiffusion. Okay. And next, double diffusion in one dimension. Double diffusion means both antibody and antigen are moving towards each other. Moving in towards each other in one dimension. That is called as double diffusion in one dimension. Here what happens? Antibody is incorporated in a cell, and above which agar is added, and above which antigen is layered on top of the agar media. Okay, first the gel containing antibody is taken. On this plain agar is added, and on this antigen is layered. And what happens then? Here, antigen and antibody both move towards each other, and that forms the precipitation. That results in the formation of precipitate when they meet at optimum proportions. When they meet at optimum proportion, that is called as double diffusion in one dimension. Here, antibody, first we are taking the antibody. After this, we are in the antibody in the cell, then plain agar, then antigen. Then what happens? Antigen and antibody moving towards each other, and that results in the formation of precipitate. And these precipitate formation occurs when they meet at optimum proportion, and that is called as double diffusion in one dimension. Okay. And next, this is the diffusion method. Here, this is the antibody in agar gel. After this, layering of normal gel. Next, after this, antigen is added. And what happens? Antigen and antibody both are moving. This is a single diffusion. This is a double diffusion. Okay, here only antigen is moving. Here, both antigen and antibody on. That results in the precipitation bands. This is a single diffusion method. This is a double diffusion method. Okay, this is a diffusion method. Next, single diffusion in two dimensions. In two dimensions. Here also we are taking the agar gel. Agar gel is incorporated on a petri dish. Normal agar gel is incorporated. Then antibody is layered over it. Next, after this, the gel is cut into wells. And to this, antigen is added. Antigen is added to the well cut surface of gel. Then antigen diffuses radially from the cut surface of the well and forms ring-shaped bands of precipitation. That means here both antibody and antigen are moving. Sorry, only here first agar gel we are taking, then antibody is layering over it, then antigen is added to the well cut surfaces. Here only antigen is diffusing. Sorry, this is only antigen is diffusing. Single diffusion method. Antigen is diffusing radially from the cut surface of well and forms the ring shaped bands of precipitation, and that gives the precipitation. And here the diameter of halo, that gives the estimate of the concentration of antigen. That means here the antigen is diffusing radially from in different direction, in two directions, and that is called a single diffusion in two dimensions. Agar is normally incorporated, then antibody is layering over it. Next, antigen is added to the gel. Then antigen is diffusing, and this antigen is diffusing towards to the two directions. The well is cut at the center. Then what happens? Antibody is placed both the directions. Then antigen is diffusing towards two directions. And here that diameter of the halo, that gives the estimate of the concentration of antigen. That is the single diffusion in two dimension. Okay. Here, observe this one. Here, the glass slide coated with the agar containing specific antibody. That means here the antibody is layered over the gel. Then antigen is added to the antibodies containing gel. Next, the two continue to react until the zone of equivalence reached. That means here the area of ring that indicates the measure of antigen concentration. And here antibody is placed in the gel, whereas antigen is placed in the well, and the diameter of ring is proportional to the concentration, and that indicates the immunoglobulin levels or antibody levels, and that is mainly useful for the detection of antibodies. And here, what are the applications of this single diffusion in two dimension? It is mainly employed for the estimation of immunoglobulin, different types of immunoglobulin classes. and also for screening of sera for different antibodies to influenza viruses. Influenza viruses. For the estimation of immunoglobulin classes in sera and for the detection of antibodies to influenza viruses. These are the main applications in single diffusion in two dimension. And next coming to the double diffusion in two dimension. Double diffusion, here two dimensions. Here what is the procedure involved in this? In this, agar gel is poured on a slide and wells are cut using a template. First, agar is taken, then wells are cut. An antibody is placed in the central well, and different antigens are placed in the surrounding wells. And if two adjacent antigens are identical, then the lines of precipitate formed them that will fuse. And if they are unrelated, the lines will cross each other. That means here first we are taking the agar gel, normal agar gel we are taking, and in this wells are cutting. In the central well we are adding the antibody, and in of these different antigens are placed in the surrounding well. Then, if the antigens, two adjacent antigens are identical, that means if the antigenic determinants are identical, then the lines of precipitate that formed them will fuse. Whereas if they are unrelated, the lines will cross each other, and that results in the formation of spur formation. Spur, S-P-U-R, spur formation. And if they are unrelated, that means the lines will cross each other. Cross reaction occurs in between two antigens. That means if they share the antigenic determinants, means the lines of precipitate will form. And if they are unrelated, means the lines will cross each other. Will cross each other. That is the double diffusion here. Antibody, antigen. Antibody in the central well, antigen in the surrounding well. That means if two adjacent antigens are identical, then they share the antigenic determinants and they combine with the antibody that results in the formation of precipitate. If they are unrelated, the lines will cross each other, and that reaction is called as a double diffusion in two dimensions. Okay. Next, that was explained by Orchiterloni double diffusion. Orchiterloni double diffusion. Here, antigen and antibody diffuse independently through a semi-solid medium or agar gel. Antigen antibody diffuse independently through a agar gel. Here, first the antibody is placing in the central well. Different antigens are placed in surrounding well. And here, these are detected by different stains. That are detected by different stains. And 0.5% amido black or 0.5% comadri brilliant blue stains. These are mainly used for these detection of these precipitating bands. And here, position of the precipitating bands between wells allows for antigens to compare with each other. That means sharing of antigenic determinants with the antibody is identified by using the position of the precipitating bands between the wells. And that is the Orchiterloni double diffusion. And what are the diffusion patterns here occurring? First one is the identity. Identity means here if the antigenic determinants are present in both the surrounding wells, and then what happens? Precipitation occurs. That means fusion of lines at the junction to form an arc-like structure. That means presence of common antigenic determinant, and that combines with the antibody, and that is indicated by the this arc formation. Arc like structure is formed by sharing of antigenic determinants in between two antigens. Okay, whereas Non-identity occurs if they do not share any antigenic determinant. Do not share any antigenic determinant, and that is indicated by cross lines. Cross lines. And next, when partial identity occurs in between two antigens, that means they can only share the partial identity. Only some of the antigenic determinants are shared by the two antigens. Then it is indicated by spur formation or partial identity. These are the diffusion patterns that we observed in Arch-Terloni double diffusion process. Here, the lines at the junction when they form an arc means they share the antigenic determinant. When they do not share the antigenic determinants means that is indicated by cross line. When partially they share the antigenic determinants means that is indicated by spur formation. And these are the main diffusion patterns that is observed in double diffusion method. And what are the applications of double diffusion in two dimensions means it is mainly used to compare different antigens and antibodies, and also for identifying the different toxigenicity of diphtheria, and that are the main application. And these are the that are the by using the precipitation reaction only these tests can be detected. That is the single diffusion. Only one of the immune complex is diffusing in one direction, one dimension, or in two dimension, and double diffusion in single dimension and two dimension. And these are the methods that takes place in precipitation reaction. Okay, next. And what is the process involved here? Wells are cut in the shell. Normally here the wells are cut in the shell and the reactants are added in the wells. And when these are incubated, then only we can observe the precipitating lines. And here the antigen movement and antibody movements are observed, and that indicates the precipitating line. This is the main process involved in immunodiffusion process. And next, coming to the immunoelectrophoresis. Already you know about the electrophoresis basing on the charge, the separation of particles, separation of proteins or immune complexes that occurs, that is the electrophoretic separation. Here in immunoelectrophoresis, it involves the electrophoretic separation of antigen into its constituent proteins. Normally antigens are protein. Here it involves both the patterns of immunodiffusion and electrophoresis, both the processes of immunodiffusion and electrophoresis. This method mainly involves the first electrophoretic separation of antigen into its constituent protein. Then it is followed by immunodiffusion against its antibody, and that results in the different precipitating links that indicates the reaction between each protein with its corresponding antibody. And that process is called as the immunoelectrophoresis. First, basing on the chart, electrophoresis. Here, the proteins are separated. That means here the antigen is divided into its constituent proteins during the electrophoretic separation. Then it is followed by immunodiffusion by adding the antibody, and that results in the separate precipitating line, and that indicates the reaction between each protein with its corresponding antibody. And that means here the antigen that containing the antigenic determinant and that reacts with the antibody, and that is the immunoelectrophoresis. And by using this electrophoresis we can separate different proteins. Here albumin, gamma alpha globulins, beta globulins, gamma globulins, these are separated by using the electrophoretic separation of protein, normal electrophoretic separation of protein. And when it is combined to immunodiffusion we can separate these proteins. Okay, and here how the process is occurred. Here first This technique is performed on agar shell on a slide with an antigen well and antibody trough cut on it. Here, antigen well and antibody trough are cut on the agar gel. Agar gel. Here, the test serum is placed in the antigen well and electrophorized for an hour. Okay, then antibody against this serum is then placed in the trough and diffusion is allowed to proceed for 24 hours. What is happening here means first we are taking the agar gel and first it is electrophorized by taking the test serum that is placed in the antigen well. And next, antibody against this human serum and that are placed in the drug. And diffusion is allowed to proceed for 24 hours. Okay, the test serum is here, antigen is placed in the antigen well. Next, against that, antibodies are placed in the drug and diffusion is allowed to proceed for 24 hours. And what happens? Then the resulting precipitin lines, then these are observed. These are observed. That is the immunoelectrophoresis process. And by using this, we can identify different proteins that are present in human serum. And also we can observe the normal and abnormal proteins that are present in fluids. And that is the main application of immunoelectrophoresis. And here it refers to the precipitation in agar under an electric field. This is a process of combination of immunodiffusion and electrophoresis. And here double immunodiffusion occurs. And here first we are separating the antigens into the antigenic determinant, that is a test sample, test serum that containing the antigen and that are placed into a wells that are cut in each cell. And next on the shell troughs are cut and in these troughs antibodies are placed and the antibodies diffuse to meet the antigenic determinant and that results in a different precipitin bands. And these results in determination of nature of antigens. Nature of antigens. And the term immunoelectrophoresis was first coined by the scientists Graber and Williams in 1953. This is the normal technique that is used in immunoelectrophoresis. And what is the main principle involved here is when electric current, that means during the electrophoresis process only antigen mixture is placed in the wells and that results in the separation of antigenic determinant. And after the electrophoresis we are adding the antibody, that means antiserum present in the drug that moves towards the antigen compound and that results in the formation of separate precipitin links and that indicates the different proteins with that reacting with the antibody. That is the main principle involved in this. First we are applying electrophoresis to the antigen mixture containing gel. Then antibody is added. Then the reaction occur in between the antibody and antigen. Here the antigen is divided into different fragments, separated into different antigen components that contain different antigenic determinants. And the antibody, when this reacts with the antigenic determinant, that results in the different precipitin bands. And that is the main immunoelectrophoresis principle. Here, antigen preparation is first electrophorized. Here, antigens are first electrophorized, and that results in resolving of antigens on the basis of charge. On the basis of charge, this is the first antigen we are taking in the wells, and it is resolved into different components. Okay, then anti-serum, that is the blue one. Here this is the antibody is then added to the drugs on or both sides of the separated antigen and allowed to decrease. Then what happens? Lines of precipitation. Lines of precipitation. These are the ORCs. ORCs means the sharing of the antigenic determinants and that are observed when specific antibody and antigenic determinants interact and that indicates the colored orbs. Colored orb formation occurs when they share the antigenic determinant. Common antigenic determinant means that results in the formation of arc and that is the immunoelectrophoresis technique. And this is the main procedure involved. Agarose gel first we prepare the agarose gel on a glass slide and that is placed in a horizontal position. And next, by using the template, wells are put on the this gel. Next, the sample is diluted with the protein diluent solution. That is, the antigen solution is added. And after this, here we also add the control and sample units. And next, the gel is placed into electrophoresis chamber with samples on the cathode side. Okay, and electrophoresis run for 20 minutes and at 100 volts. Okay, after electrophoresis completes, then anti-serum is added to the drugs. Then incubate for 18 to 20 hours at room temperature on a horizontal position. Horizontal position. And next, after this, we are incubating means then we have to use the stains also. Then we can use the stains for the identification of precipitating band and these are placed in horizontal position and dried with the blotter sheet. And then this gel is taken in saline solution and this is soaked for about 10 minutes. And after this drying and washing takes place. And next, this gel is dried at temperature less than 70 degrees centigrade and can be stained with different dyes. Here, these can be stained with different dyes. And that results in the formation of precipitin ants. Precipitin arcs that represents the antigen antibody interaction. And that results in the formation of precipitate. And here the different antigens can be identified based on the intensity, shape and position of the precipitation and this is the immunoelectrophoresis technique. First, we are applying the electrophoresis to the antigen containing gel. Then we are adding the antibody. Then after the incubation, precipitin bands are appearing. And these are observed by using the staining processes. Okay, that we observe the different precipitin bands and different antigens can be detected by using this is the immunoelectrophoresis technique and these are the different types of precipitation reactions. Okay, this is the class today's class is any doubts?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now it's really very informative session. So shall I proceed for question answer section, ma'am?
Okay.
Okay, now students, if you have any question regarding today's session, please comment. Please comment your question in the chat box. Thanks everyone for supporting us. If you have any question regarding today's topic, please comment.
Any doubts you can ask me.
Okay, ma'am, Jansis is asking, ma'am, you directly take the question from comment section.
In Aspolis thermoprecipitating test, What is Ascolis means? Ascolis that here that Ascolis means it is for detection of anthrax. In terms of anthrax, mm, okay, it is mainly useful for the thermostable antibody detection. That is the thermoprecipitin. Ascolis means here in terms of anthrax only. That refers to anthrax.
Okay, I think it is clear. So if you have any question, students, please comment in the chat box, please. Ma'am is waiting for your question. Okay. Now, if you understood today section, please comment yes in the comment section. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now I am sharing you today attendance link. I request everyone to fill this attendance form. Then you may leave the session. Those who are new in this platform, they don't know about attendance. Let me tell you this way. Then you can leave the session. That regarding we are send you a PPTs of today class. And I request everyone to be regular. Don't bunk the classes. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, once again. And
Okay.
you can leave the session, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Be regular for the classes. I think all of them, some of them have exams. That's why they are
Yeah.
not listening the classes.
Some of the some of having an exam and many are having online classes at that time
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
university classes are be scheduled in 10 to 5. Okay, in many
Okay.
universities. That's why they are facing such like 11 problems. They are not attending the classes.
Okay. Okay.
But still, we are continuing 5 to 6,
Okay.
7, 10 students. No issues.
Okay.
Those who interested,
Okay.
ma'am, we definitely can join. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then I am leaving.
Yeah, ma'am, sure. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh.
Okay, Amit, end the session.